The Scooby-Doo cartoon series is a pop culture phenomenon and for me has always been a part of my adolescence for as long as I can remember. Watching the Mystery Inc. gang go on miscellaneous adventures, unveiling secrets, and unmasking criminals whether they're disguised as monsters, witches, ghosts, or otherworldly creatures was something I would always watch every Saturday morning. Whether it be on reruns of the 70s and 80s classic television shows, or even DVD copies of A Pup Named Scooby-Doo and What's New Scooby-Doo. However, while the television show was the thing that made me stick to the franchise until my present adulthood, their movies are much to be desired. Oh, there are some good, even outright great contents that have been released straight to DVD and television, but their mainstream theatrical releases, on the other hand, are putrid cud, and no other movie staple that assessment on our craniums more than the live-action dog crap pinched out by Ratt Gosnell in the mid-2000s, who in the latter half of his career will continue to desecrate unbeloved cartoons. So yes, Hollywood, when it comes to the big screen, hasn't been all too kind to Scooby-Doo and the gang. But surprisingly, the Warner Animation Group have decided to bring the cartoon series back to life, with a feature-length animated film being sent straight to VOD streaming, reason being because of the virus that shall not be named, that sets to not only bring precious, heartfelt nostalgia to Scooby-Doo and Hanna-Barbera fans, but to also and hopefully provide family-quality entertainment right at the comfort of your home. Now, despite my quizzical perspective of the film's trailers, I was still curious enough to see the movie for myself. But it appears that curiosity killed the cat on this one. As much as I hate to say this, Scoob is a bad movie, and it's not only a shame, but it's downright baffling that such a product like this was even brought to VOD streaming in the first place. But in any case, come along gang, let's solve the mystery as to why Scoob is such an underwhelming misfire. Throughout the years of solving multitudinous cases together from childhood all the way to present adulthood, the Mystery Gang have decided to branch out into a mystery-solving business of their own. However, Shaggy and Scooby are supposedly described as the weakest link of the group, as judged by their manager Simon Cowell, because why not? And the duo decide to break away from the group that they helped evolve. However, after a chase scene from cutesy yet dangerous attack bots, they are beamed up to a ship that is helmed by Blue Falcon and Dynamite, who are on a mission to foil the plans of Dick Dastardly, who has mysterious diabolical intentions of gaining an ancient treasure and unleashing the three-headed dog Cerberus into the world. I wish. So Scooby and Shaggy have to work with Blue Falcon and Dynamite to prove their worth to the gang, all the while the other three of the Mystery Gang are out trying to bring him back. Now, despite my upcoming grievances that are soon about to expose how much of a disappointment this is, there are some admirable aspects that keep this film on its own 4 feet. The animation in this film is pretty solid, but nothing too extraordinary, mostly when it comes to the character and the overall world design. It's efficiently detailed and competently produced. However, while certain models of characters like, say, Scooby, Blue Falcon, Dynamite, the rest of the Mystery Gang, Dick Dastardly, and even certain designs of ships and exotic locations are relatively good, the CG animation stems beyond the design. I, of course, have to talk about the movement of the animation, which is something I rarely talk about. There are so many frequent points in the film, depending on the scene, of characters either interacting with each other or running throughout an action set piece or a chase scene. It often switches at different frames per second to where it's either too choppy to where there is no blur on the characters' movements to make them feel fluid or graceful as you would see in a Disney or DreamWorks movie, or way too smooth to where it looks almost cheaply made, like you would see in a movie like Norm of the North. But trust me, this movie is no Norm of the North, so I can promise you that. Where the movie also prevails somewhat is with its voice acting. Sure, you have Will Forte as Shaggy, who does a very fine job in his own, bringing life to the character, but the shallow voice acting from Zac Efron, Amanda Seyfried, and Gina Rodriguez as Fred, Daphne, and Velma are artificial and expendable, feeling like the actors didn't give the performance their all, or even hone the essence of the character to make the character their own. And you can definitely say the same thing for other actors like Mark Wahlberg as Blue Falcon and King Ji-young as Dynamite, who are only credible at best. However, the saving graces of the voice acting mostly derive from veteran voice actors, one of them being the ever so talented Jason Isaacs, who brings his comically villainous presence into Dick Dastardly, making his character so much fun every time he's on screen. And the iconic voice actor Frank Welker voicing Scooby-Doo himself felt like a walk down memory lane. And here comes the part where the film absolutely bites. pun very much intended. Rather than creating a story that best represents the qualities of Scooby-Doo, being the intrigue, the mystery, the humor, the camaraderie between the gang as they are solving the spooky case, the film instead decides to go to the laziest route possible with its screenplay containing too many conveniences and contrivances in order for the plot to progress. Like how it's super convenient that one of Dick Dastardly's robotic killing machines would also contain a piece of his facial hair, which Velma uses to track down his criminal history and his motivations. Oh yeah, and let's talk about the elephant in the room in terms of contrivances. Why is Simon Cowell in this movie? Now don't get me wrong, Simon Cowell is probably one of the funniest and even harshest music judges to ever walk this earth imaginable. But for a movie like this is a waste of his time. Simon Cowell's role is so contrived that he's literally supposed to be in there just to break the mystery gang up based upon him judging the group as a whole as manager. Why is he the manager? Who the heck knows? But I guess the other reason as to why Simon Cowell is in this movie, aside from him paying for his insurance, is because the directors and the writers designed this little joke into the screenplay just as an excuse to bring out Simon's amazing and hilarious American Idol critiquing abilities, and for Shaggy and Scooby to sing Shallow from the 2018 remake of A Star Is Born. Yeah, I'm serious. This actually happens. But the biggest problem with this movie script is that in every single Scooby-Doo show or movie, including the bad ones, there is always a mystery to be solved, or something to unravel before certain chaos arrives, or the culprit gets away scot-free. In this movie, what's the mystery that needs to be solved? The villain has already been revealed, and the plot only amounts to preventing him from gaining 3 MacGuffins that will bring forth Cerberus. So why does this uninspired superhero adventure aspect take control of the entire direction of the film? I'll tell you why. This movie wants to be a blockbuster movie, a superhero movie. So much so that all of the decisions that the writers and the directors take with this movie also affect the pacing and the momentum, to a point to where you spend so much time with Scooby and Shaggy, with Blue Falcon and Dynamite, that by the time you finally get to the other 3 members of the mystery gang, that being Fred, Daphne, and Velma, you would have completely forgotten that they were even in the film to begin with. And speaking of contrived, the ending and the final act of the film is such an anticlimactic cop-out that you can feel the writers crowbarring in an unearned happy ending that is so manipulative and unnatural that I could not believe that it was actually ever executed on screen. It is utter insanity that the director of this movie, whose track record has been mostly affiliated with working on Warner Brothers animated shows and movies, would actually do something like this. Even the heartwarming comedy that the Scooby-Doo shows and movies are supposed to have are incredibly subpar. There are so many jokes that try to be hilarious, but result being underwhelming and flat. Whether it's making references or jokes at the expense of making fun of Tinder, Netflix, IKEA, or Warner Brothers properties such as Middle-earth, or how about my favorite, when Shaggy and Scooby are finally beamed up to the Falcon Fury, as the ship is powering up, you can clearly hear the AT&T sound effect. Yeah, talk about lazy right there. Or even worse, the animated movie cliche of shouting out pop culture references. One of which is hearing Gladiators, "Are you not entertained?" Guys, I thought we were done with this sort of joke writing, but there are a lot of jokes, especially the adult humor, that this movie runs into the freaking ground. For instance, there is a scene where Dick Dastardly tries to get Scooby-Doo to say the right abbreviation of the word Dick, which is his first name, and they keep saying and abbreviating the word over and over and over again, to where I had to remind myself that this is a movie, a family movie, starring Scooby freaking Doo. But I haven't even gotten to the worst part. You know how I said that this movie is trying to be like a blockbuster or superhero movie? Yeah. This movie, worst of all, wants to build a cinematic universe. And it fails miserably. Yes. Much like multiple failed movie universes such as Universal's Dark Universe, the WAG want to create a movie that will hopefully set up future installments or a universe without having any idea how to create a good movie first, that will hopefully get the audience hooked in for more. How come they can do it perfectly fine in a movie like the Lego Movie, but not in Scoob? The filmmakers are trying to bring so many characters from the Hanna-Barbera universe, like Captain Caveman, who is voiced by Tracy Morgan, for some reason, that are not only there to be abrupt little cameos for the fans to cater to, but that they are in there for a brief amount of time and add little importance or significance to the movie as a whole. I mean, is Warner Brothers having a universe-building crisis like Sony? I mean, at least Sony has Spider-Man. even though that franchise is about to be royally abused with potential stinkers like Morbius and Venom 2 waiting in the wings. Warner Brothers nearly failed with the DCEU before ditching that talentless hack of a director, and Godzilla is on suicide watch if Godzilla vs. Kong critically and financially bombs. Sorry. Anyway, folks, behind the mask, Scoob isn't an animated film that does an immense service to the cartoon. It's a film that is simply there just to pander to your Scooby-Doo / Hanna-Barbera nostalgia without being a good film all on its own. You may like and even love the film as a Hanna-Barbera / Scooby-Doo fan, or even as a young kid, which is perfectly okay. But it's also okay to not let your nostalgia take a hold of you, and judge the film on its own merits. And as a standalone film, Scoob is more of a soulless, meaningless cash grab than a family-friendly reunion of the beloved cartoon talking dog. Alright folks, so that was my review of Scoob. If you like this video, please like and comment below what you thought of the film yourself. You'll also find me on media outlets such as Facebook, Twitter, and you have your phone, possibly find me on Instagram. And as always, if you'd like to see more reviews like this, be sure to subscribe for more. Well, looks like there was another mystery solved. Off to the next one, lads. My name is Luke Nukem. And you, my friends, have been blown away